All right, folks, Gene Galin here with the Chatham Chat List. I have Asheebo Rojas as well. We're running an hour behind, and that's all my fault because I have to get on to a West Coast West Coast call. My noon time is their 9 o'clock. All right. We were hoping to be on Instagram, but it doesn't look like we're going to be on Instagram. However, we will be on all our other channels: Facebook, X, and Facebook's X and YouTube are all streaming fine. Instagram is having issues, so we're not going to worry about that today. We're going to go into it, folks. Here we go. All right. Here's a rundown of what we're going to be talking about. The big thing is the Chatham News and Record paper that comes out today. Shibo's got a big football preview. We're going to talk about that here. Then we're going to get into volleyball season that has started, soccer season that has started. We'll talk about, as always, Asheebo sports stories. Asheebo does have an athlete of the week, and then we'll touch on where Asheebo and I will be next week. Let me get rid of this and bring us both on board. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us. This is the third season of the ChathamNC Sports Update. And there he is, Mr. Asheebo. He's on that side this time, and I'm on the other side, but that's okay. All right, Asheebo, let's get into Chatham High School football preview. We sat down Saturday morning, media day. You arranged with Cameron Vernon at Northwood. We had the four high schools. We started off with Chatham Central, went to Northwood, Seaforth, and JM. So when we start, and you just talk about what folks can expect this year. So let's start off with Chatham Central.
Yeah, and before we get into that, like you said, Gene, we have all four of those preview stories. Just kind of giving a rundown of biggest storylines we got out of the media day in the paper this week. So pick up a paper for the football preview. Of course, next week we'll have previews of week one matchups as well. So we're starting our football preseason this week and getting prepared for next week's week one. Got some big matchups that we're excited for coming up soon. But yeah, starting with Chatham Central, we talked with Coach Little and his players. He brought Bryson Austin from the defensive side, Savion Burnett, who plays both ways. Of course, Nick Glover, another two-way guy for them, and the quarterback, Brooks Albright, who will, of course, play for quarterback, but he might play some corner as well this season. So got a chance to talk with those guys. I saw them practice the Thursday before, and the biggest thing we learned about Chatham Central from this offseason is they're having an outstanding offseason. And Darren Little, he had said, this was the best offseason he's had since being at Chatham Central. And the big thing is the numbers, first of all, that they've seen in the summer and spring. The past two seasons, it's been a struggle getting enough kids to come out and practice and build a team leading up to the season. I think Darren's first season, he only had like 8 kids only a week or two before the season started. The next year was also a struggle, trying to get enough kids to run 11 on 11s and just get a team together to learn the playbook and get everyone, acclimated to even playing football, because we know at Chatham Central, a lot of the kids are playing football for the first time or have only played football for 1 or 2 years up to this point. So this offseason, he's had a consistent number of kids. I think he said about 18 that have shown up throughout the spring and summer. And they've been able to run 11 on 11 early on and split practices up between offense and defense and really hone in on learning plays, of course, individual skills and building those up and really preparing for the season like, a lot of other football teams around the state have been able to do. And then another thing as well, they added co-defensive coordinators and DeWanye Bland and Trayvon Tapp, both guys that played in college at Lenore Ryan, built relationships with Darren in the past, and he brought those guys on to add another load off of him as a coach as well, but also to add some more knowledge defensively and give his players like we said, college experience, college knowledge, just a deep knowledge of the game to help them better prepare for this season, which they've really enjoyed. We talked to the players, and they've really learned a lot from those two. And yeah, it just feels like a new feel with them this year, this offseason, just the way it's gone compared to those in the past. So yeah, Chatham Central, they're on looking up coming into the season and looking to trying to put some wins on the win-loss record this year. Unlike last few seasons, it's been a struggle to do that. But yeah, new conference. Of course, they're starting the season with Graham, which I think is a great way to start the season for them. Great chance to go out there and get a win, and that's a game last year that they competed really tightly with Graham in. I think they were up for most of that game, and just a few plays went the other way, and they end up losing that one. I think by a score. So yeah, Chatham Central. They have, like we said, they're having a great offseason, and they're really excited for the kind of new feeling they're coming into the season with.
And I think one of the things that the two storylines that I found interesting is Coach Little had talked about the fact that they're looking for that 11th game this year, looking to make it into the tournament. And as you mentioned, they've got a new conference. First game, as you mentioned, is Graham, and I think they're feeling that they're going to be able to be more competitive in that conference. Based upon what you've seen, what's your feeling as to? I feel that they're definitely going to play better this year. What's your feeling overall as to what we can expect to see from them this year?
Yeah, so we can look at their schedule right now in full. But yeah, like I said, I think early on they have a favorable game in Graham. Of course, Jordan Matthews, that's another game that they were really close to winning last year, even with injuries to the quarterback and other positions as well, and in the offseason they had. So Jordan Matthews is another game they can very, very well compete in. East Columbus, that's a game they won last year. It wasn't officially recorded because it was an extra game due to Hurricane Helene, but they did go out there and beat East Columbus last year. So that's another game, he can come in and have confidence with. North Stokes, game last year that they competed really tightly in. I think they lost that one in overtime, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the beginning of their schedule, Graham, Jordan Matthews, East Columbus, Northmore, and North Stokes, I think they should feel really good. And North Stokes is a conference game as well. So I think they should feel really good about that and coming into the season. And like you said, with them having the offseason they had and being able to prepare early on, 11 on 11, they're building those reps that they haven't been able to really get until later in the season that they probably got in actual game action. And now they've been able to get game action without being in a real game. That should help a lot this year. And Brooks Albright, we talked with him too. He's coming into the season, as a starting quarterback. Last year, he kind of just got thrown in the fire with Reed Douglas going down, and Nick had some time at quarterback as well. So now he's had full offseason to learn from Coach Little, get his perspective as a quarterback, as a former college quarterback, and just learn this offense, get more comfortable with his receivers. And I think they should have a lot of confidence, like I say, coming into this year, just looking at what they're starting with. And then in the conference, also to other teams like South Davidson, they should feel pretty good against. There's also some pretty good competition in this conference that may or may not be at the level two yet this season. But I do expect a much better season for Chatham Central. We may get a couple more wins than we've seen in the past, or if not wins, a lot more competitive games out of them.
All right. And it also seems, as you mentioned, they've got that game against JM. So I'm sure a lot of folks in Western Chatham are going to be interested in going out and seeing those games because you're going to talk about Jordan Matthews later on and how they've progressed in the offseason as well, plus their involvement with the South City Parks and Rec, because I think all the coaches would like to see that funnel get a little bit bigger as to players being aware of what playing football is like before they get to high school. All right. After Chatham Central, we had Coach Dalton from Northwood. So, what can you tell us about what Northwood's looking like for this season?
Yeah, so Northwood, they're coming in with a lot of, questions that need answers as far as players stepping into a senior class that had a lot of talent, a lot of production last year that went out. Of course, you're losing guys like Bo Harvey, Isaiah Blair, Antoine Brewington, guys that produce a lot in the receiving core last year that they won't have. They're bringing back Rajay Torres, who was really good for them last year in the short game and as a defensive back. So he's looking to be a leader in that receiving core. And then, of course, my quarterback, they got Grayson Cox back coming for his senior year. Robert Tripp, standout running back, coming back for his senior year as well. So they've got a solid core, quarterback, running back, and a receiver. Now it's just filling in the rest of it. And we talked to Connor Clark as well. Coach Brown brought Connor Clark for the offensive line, Rajay Torres, Grayson Cox, Robert Tripp, and Aiden Hohenwater, a linebacker Northwood, and those guys talked about what they're expecting this season. And we talked to Grayson too. You talked about just coming in, being a better leader, getting control of the locker room, and it's coming in playing with confidence and playing free. Because I think that was the thing he talked about last year was he did a lot of thinking in some certain situations, and so he had lot of high highs and some low lows last season. But this year he's just coming in. He wants to just play football, play free, and lead this team because I mean they have an opportunity, especially his group with Robert Tripp, Roger Torres, the guys that have been here and seen things last year. They have an opportunity to step up and really take control of this team and really elevate them even more than they did last year. Given that a lot of those seniors that were really impactful aren't here anymore, and so they have a chance to also elevate these new guys that are coming in, and we're going to get a chance to see them tomorrow actually at the Jack Shanner Jamboree, and see what guys can make some plays in that receiving core. And then on the defensive side, they bring back a lot of guys, especially at the linebacker position, where they're really deep, and they're going to see a little bit of turnover with defensive backs, and a little bit of turnover with defensive line, especially replacing a guy like AJ Rome Mason, who was a really good pass rusher last year and run defender as well. And so it's going to be like we said, a question of who's going to fill in for that senior class that did so well last season, and how is that going to work, mixing the old end with the new with Northwood. And yeah, that's the biggest thing I got from our media day, our time with them. And like we said, we're going to get a chance to check them out tomorrow, a couple scrimmages here and there to see how things have progressed this offseason.
Yeah, you and I have had the opportunity to see a couple of their practices. I think they're going to be they've got the talent to do well, but I feel that this year Northwood's actually the third largest school. Seaforth's number one. JM's the second largest school, then Northwood, and then Chatham Central. So Northwood's student population is about a little bit over 600. My concern is if you have injuries down the road, how are they going to be able to fill those slots? And I think Coach Dalton mentioned they're not quite sure if they're going to have enough folks to field for JV. Have you heard anything on that, or is that still up in the air?
I mean, yeah, well, we saw it. I think I do remember him mentioning that in the media day, but we kind of saw it when we went to their practices. I think their numbers are a little less than last year, and those players they know they're going to have to play both ways. A lot of them this year, so that's going to be something to keep an eye out on. And we asked about that too, about the conditioning and how they prepare for that to have to play both sides of the ball. Because guys that are standing out on offense like Robert Tripp, Grayson Cox, they've also been taking on roles on defense as well at safety, linebacker, and of course some of the linemen are going to play both sides as well, like Michael Wilson. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Northwood adjusts to this kind of new phase that they're in right now, trying to transition out from that senior class and bring in some guys that can start making some plays for them, some sophomores and juniors that haven't really gotten so much varsity experience in the past.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The players that were up there, Raj and Robert and Grayson, they were all just talking about how they've got the experience. So we'll see how they do this year. I just hope everybody stays healthy in that situation. All right. After Northwood, we had Seaforth, and Seaforth's got a new coach. So why don't you tell us what Seaforth looking forward to this coming football season?
Yeah, so Seaford, we spent a lot of time with Tolbert since he was hired in the spring, getting to kind of see how he's put his impact on the program. And yeah, we talked to him a lot on Saturday, of course, about that. And the biggest thing we've gotten, of course, in the summer on Saturday was everything is new. They're coming in, they're establishing a new culture at Seaforth. With of course Coach Matthews and his assistants that he brought in, Coach Travis Scales on the defensive side. Some of course, they kept Tobias Palmer as well to help on the offensive side. And some other guys that he's brought in to kind of help, establish his culture, bring in a greater depth of football knowledge as well. And that was one big thing they talked about too. And we told the coaches to bring 4 to 5 players, and Tolbert only brought 2. And he pretty much explained it. He feels like those are his guys, the back end boys with Patrick Miller and Nick Gregory, the 2 experienced defensive backs. And everyone else is just in a competition, even the quarterback position. And so Duncan Parker, who was a starter last year, he's competing with Mason Pooley, who is I think a year under him, and so he hasn't, we haven't seen too much from him in the past. I think he might have played JV last season, not too sure, but we saw Duncan play varsity last year, took a lot of snaps, made some big plays down the field, but most of his production came on the ground. So both of them have been training together in the off season. They've been competing for this spot, trying to improve in the past game. And yeah, we're just going to have to see come week one who's going to get the starting position. And that was a big thing with the biggest message I think Toper has shared with his team, though, is with the new culture, with coming in and nobody really having a set spot now, kind of just throwing away everything from last year. He's just trying to see how his players respond to that. And so that's a big thing, seeing how they respond to mistakes, hard coaching, going out and kind of being thrown in the fire. I think he said in their scrimmage last week against Willow Springs, he had a lot of freshmen out there on the field because it's anybody's position anywhere on the field for C4. So it's going to be interesting to see. Now he highlighted some guys that have already kind of stepped up and left a good impression this offseason. So defensively, we know that was a strength last year, and they're bringing a lot of experience back from there. And then offensively, receiver wise, they have some talent there with Max Hinchman. And then they have another guy in Noah Fuller who has made a lot of plays this offseason in scrimmages and in practices. He's been really hard to cover. So they'd have a lot of excitement going down at Seaford. And I really like the talent I saw. Of course, they have the depth, and we talked about that, Seaford being the biggest school. They have a lot of kids. So they're going to have a JV program, and they're still going to have plenty of kids that can, specialize in one position and also have some more backups after that, should anyone go down with injury or have to come in and step up in a bigger role. So, yeah, I think Seaforth is definitely looking up this season. And then in their conference, I think they're in a great position in their conference at least. And I know conference success really doesn't matter as much this year because, playoff positioning is all about RPI now. But, those are some good games that they can go in there and compete and possibly win. And I think, just to go back to last year, when we looked at the C4 team, a lot of guys on this team were on that team last year. There were a couple plays in a few games from having 2 or 3 more wins last season. So it's just about coming in, making some tweaks, improving in certain areas. And we'll see if Seaford can finally get over that hump and finally get their first playoff appearance.
Yeah, speaking of JV, they actually had JV's got a scrimmage this evening at Seaforth. I think they may be several teams out there this evening.
Actually, I just got a message that they canceled that tonight.
Oh, they did cancel that? Okay, so that's off. See, I need to see that's why we have Asheebo on here because he's smart about all this stuff. Varsity's they're going away tomorrow for a scrimmage, aren't they? They're going over to
Battle of the Borders scrimmage. I think it's going tomorrow. Yeah.
Off. All right, and then I asked them because I asked the Northwood players about the Battle of Pittsburgh because although they're in 2 different conferences, they are going to play each other this season. The Northwood guys said that they were looking forward to that game this year because they thought they underperformed last year. And Coach Matthews has got his guys on one page because they basically said, we're just thinking about our next game, which is against Chapel Hill. And I said, really? Is that what you're really thinking about? And they're like, yeah. So they stuck to that story. So the coach will be happy about that. So one of the things we're also seeing this year is pretty much everyone's in a different conference than they were in last year. So Seaforth was in 2A last year. This year they're in 5A, and their first game is against Chapel Hill away. Taking a look at the schedule, I don't have it in front of me. Do you have that in front of you? What are you seeing for the rest of the season for C4?
Yeah, looking at their schedule, Chapel Hill, they have a pretty tough non-conference schedule to start. Of course, Chapel Hill, Southeast Alamance, that's going to be a challenge, even though those teams are familiar with each other. But we know Southeast Alamance is a really good program. Princeton on the 5th. And then, of course, a big game against Northwood on the 12th. That one's just going to be tough just because of the emotions, the rivalry, and all that comes with that one. And then before going into conference play, they got to go at Northmore. Northmore, tough system to play against, with the wing T offense and a whole bunch of misdirection and things like that. So they're gonna get challenged a lot in non-conference play. And then going into the conference, some teams like Orange, Cedar Ridge, South Granville, following up with Webb, and then ending the year versus Carborough. We'll just have to see just how they look after their non-conference slate, and compare that with the other conference teams as well to see how that's going to go. But like I said, judging on these programs, what they've done in the past, what they've been in the past, I think Seaforth is in a conference where they're at that level as of now. But of course, we'll have to see during the season if they'll rise above that and show that on the field, or still trying to find their way up to that level. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of questions with C4 too. I mean, everything's new coaches, players are, new players are going to come in, step up, make some plays. So it's kind of can't really tell right now what Seaforth is exactly going to look like. And Coach Matthews has been really keeping it under wraps with things like that. Like we say, he only brought two players to media day, so he's trying to figure it out himself. And and their coaching staff as well, trying to really get this team prepared for the season. Because yeah, when we talked to them, I mean, the coaches and the players talked about it too. They've been really, really serious about preparation, film room, making sure the kids pay attention, places on time. And then we go out to practices. I mean, they coach the players hard too. So that's the thing. So there's a lot of high expectations, and a lot of belief in these players as well, and trying to get the best out of them. So we'll see how that all comes together next week. And I'll be at that game at Chapel Hill. But it could be, Chapel Hill is about to maybe start a project on their track. And Jared told me last night, and the word is getting around. But depending on that, the game actually might get moved to C4. So we'll keep you guys updated on that, and where that game will be next week at 7 o'clock. So still in the air whether it's going to be at Chapel Hill or Seaforth. Right now, it's still at Chapel Hill, as I know right now. But I do plan on going to that one. And of course, if you guys know, keep up with some of our other players down at JM. Kenneth Dula, who was standout player at Jordan Matthews past couple of years, as a defensive back and receiver, he's also at Chapel Hill. So another thing, and he's familiar with the Seaforth kids because he did start his career at Seaforth as well. So we got a little bit of a storyline there in that game, and some Chatham County kid going up against his old teammates and his old county mates. So we'll see how that one goes, but it should be pretty exciting for next weekend, with Tolbert starting the era at Seaforth, and us getting to finally get to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. And the other thing too is, yeah, Coach Matthews is new to the county, but one of the things we had an opportunity to see is we were out when Jam came over and they did a scrimmage with Seaforth a few weeks ago. So I guess Coach Kermit's helping out Coach Matthews there as well. I guess they've got each other on their uh, call to be able to call to each other. So that was good to see. All right, that leads up to Jordan Matthews with Coach Kermit. He and his gang were the last folks to talk on Saturday morning. What do you get? What do you have on the Jets?
Yeah, so the Jets, and we talked with them Saturday about this, and it's also in the preview. The biggest thing with them is they're bringing back a lot of players from last year, of course, with the exception of Dula. And the thing is that, I mean, they're just kind of moving players around, trying to see where they could best fit this team and best benefit this team. And one of the biggest developments is Kamari Hadley, who you guys remember from the basketball team, a leader there, standout player on the basketball team. He's actually come out and is going to start at quarterback for Jordan Matthews this season. And the story behind that was, Kamari is just out there. He's actually starting as a receiver coming out for football, and he's throwing the ball back to the quarterback and running the routes. And one of the assistant coaches was like, "Hey, Kamari can actually throw the ball. We might have to try him out at quarterback." And they go to Kamari about it, and I think Kermit was like, he didn't want to do it at first, but that's been the biggest thing is, hey, we need you guys to do what's best for Jordan Matthews this season. And Kamari He can throw the ball. We saw it in the 7-on-7 against Seaford. He's getting more comfortable throwing down the field. He's now the thing is he's trying to learn how to read defenses, of course, and get his mechanics all the way down because he is new to this. But he has some talent, some natural talent at the position, and if they can get him, consistently reading defense, making the right reads, and consistent in his footwork and throwing mechanics, hey, they might find themselves in a situation where they have a quarterback and have an opportunity to throw the ball down the field a lot more this season. Because last season, Jordan Matthews really reliant on the run game. Of course, they had quarterback injuries with Namir Wiley going down, and they had to throw a freshman and Nolan Mitchell in there. And so really relied on the run game with Jakari Blue. And also, too, getting after it in the weight room has been a big thing for them this season. And Kermit talked a lot about how had a lot of kids gaining some pretty good weight this year. They're trying to be more physical in that aspect. And then on the other end, you have Jakari Blue, who at running back, big guy, standout wrestler. He was in the state tournament this past spring. He actually lost weight. And so he said he feels like he's lighter. He can see holes quicker and get downhill quicker, which should be a plus for Jordan Matthews. And I think when you look at Jordan Matthews' roster, they have a lot of athletes on that roster, right? Of course, we just talked about Namir Nolan, who played multiple positions last year. He's going to be probably likely in the defensive backfield at the corner position. You got Matthew Victorino, a tall, lengthy guy who's going to be at safety for them. And Lennox Mordecai, the other corner position, who got thrown in the fire as a freshman last year. And got some varsity burn. So now he's coming in as a starter with that experience. And that's the thing, too. There's a lot of growing up for that team because they had a lot of kids that were young going into varsity action as freshmen, sophomores, and playing against some pretty good competition. Now this year, they know what to expect. They might be in different positions, but they're doing what's best for the team. And then you also got some guys, and of course, in the interior, Omar Sanford, who also came to media day with Kermit at the linebacker position. So, yeah, Jordan Matthews growing up, getting more experience. I mean, taking that experience last year, building on it. And then also, too, just, figuring out where these athletes can best benefit them, where they best fit. It's really the theme here this offseason. And we'll get to see that next week. They'll be at Carborough at 7 o'clock. So if Seaforth is at Chapel Hill, of course, we'll have two county teams playing right by each other. But yeah, Jordan Matthews, they're really excited for what they're expecting this season as far as just being a more mature team mentally, physically, and coming in with more experience. And then also, too, you got, like you said, Gene, Treason Burnett, the Solid City Parks and Rec director, helping out a little bit on the defensive and offensive side of things, too. He had we saw that at the scrimmage with Seaforth. He's been instrumental with bringing that college coach experience, college player experience as well, teaching the guys the game and coverages and things like that. And also too, just for the entire Jordan Matthews program where he did play, he's helping foster a youth program once again. So he's brought back the youth football program through the Solid City Parks and Rec department, and also too CC Elite, which is Chatham Central's youth football initiative this past summer. They're actually going to join forces this season and have the CC Elite kids play with Solid City Parks and Rec for football. So that side of the county, the west side of the county, youth football is on the come up once again. And Darren Little, Tristan Burnett, those guys, they're trying to get that up and running so they can have those feeder systems and start preparing kids for varsity football early on and have them more prepared once they get to the high school level, which, we know just looking at the difference, right, from West Chatham to East Chatham. East Chatham has the East Chatham charters for all these years, and those kids have gotten that preparation. It does make a difference in the amount of talent you're able to have for your high school teams and where you're able to start as a high school coach, as far as are you, teaching the game from scratch, or are you being able to come in and just teach scheme, teach, different concepts and go from there. So, that's a lot of things happening, Jordan Matthews and Solid City as well, football wise. So yeah, we're excited to see how the Jets do this season, because they had a pretty decent season last year, considering past couple of years history, 3 wins, which was in the most in a couple years, and they just kind of been stacking more and more wins, win by year, and like we said, just that maturity thing as far as mental and physical will be a big thing for Jordan Matthews this year. And looking at their schedule, once again, it should be pretty confident as well. You got uh, Chatham Central on here as well. Wheatmore, um, which should be another team they should feel pretty confident against. North Stokes. So plenty of opportunities to come down and get some wins. And then in conference play, you got some pretty good competition with Northmore, Northwood, Southwest Randolph, and Eastern Randolph, which has been a football power the past couple of years. So yeah, that's all we got. Yeah, for Jordan Matthews.
All right, folks, and a reminder, Asheebo and I plan to be, well, you got the two games going on, Jordan Matthews against Chapel Hill and Northwood versus, no, it's Northwood versus Chapel Hill and Jordan Matthews versus Carbone. Okay, I think I got it right now. Right, and
Yeah.
so I'm going to try to shoot one half of one game and the other half of the other game, and we'll figure it out. We'll try to get that coverage out there. And folks, I just want to let you know we try to do the best that we can to cover as much as we can here in the county. And sometimes schedules line up where we can't be everywhere. But the other thing too is when you're on listening to us doing this live stream every Thursday, Asheebo does a great job just giving you a quick overview of everything and touching on it. Plus, you can also pick up the darn paper on Thursdays. Chatham News and Record, you got it there in print. You got pictures. You can still do what I used to do with my kids. Cut out the picture, cut out the article, get two papers. You cut out the article and the picture, and you stick it on your refrigerator, and you hold on to the other copy so that when they get older, you can show it to their kids and say, this is what your daddy looked like or your mom looked like back when they were playing high school sports. So, yeah, this is worth listening to. I love the fact that Asheebo is doing this. The previous reporter for the Chatham News and Record didn't do this. And the other thing I need to remind you of also, we're going to talk about volleyball, but last night we were both at the Seaforth versus Northwood volleyball game, and after the game, Asheebo, of course, does interviews, and I just want to let folks know that that is available on his X account. I already posted that, and I actually reposted that, and it's his. Here, there we go. I'm going to pop that up. His X account is at Asheebo R38. So if you went to the volleyball game yesterday, between the two teams, you could watch those interviews, post game interviews, or if you didn't go to the game, you can still watch the post game interviews. So again, you've got Asheebo in print paper, you got Asheebo on doing the Thursday live stream update, and you got Asheebo on X. Come on, folks. How much more Asheebo do you want? You got plenty of Asheebo, and he does a really nice job. Last year, he won an award for one of his articles that he wrote from the North Carolina Press Association, which was nice as well. All right, I will quit rambling because we're already 36 minutes into this. Let's talk about volleyball. Go at it, Asheebo.
Yeah, so we have some volleyball action get started this week. So Seaforth, they got a big win over Apex Friendship earlier in the week, 8A opponent, by the way, and won that one in 4 sets, 3-1. Of course, in that one, the freshman, Naomi Stevenson, who you guys may now recognize as Jaron Stevenson's younger sister, coming on strong with 12 kills. And then Allie Forbes came in with 13 kills in that one. And then C4 followed that up with a 3-0 win over Northwood last night. Me and Gene were there as well. And that one, Allie Forbes just took over in a lot of those sets, especially at the end of that second one. She finished the game with 16 kills. Stevenson had 13 kills. And then Josie Valgas, the senior, and her sister, Abigail Valgas, combined for 22 assists in that one. And then also around the county, Northwood went up against Union Pines to start the season and lost that one 3-0. Chatham Central, they played JM last night in a big rivalry game as well. Hated that both of the rivalry games were both on the same night, but we could only go to one. But we had PJ down there at Chatham Central, and the Bears pulled that one out 3-2. And Northmore, they beat Chatham Charter during the week as well, 3-1. And Woods Charter won their season opener over Oxford Prep on the road, 3-1. And so that's all we have for volleyball this week. Boys soccer also got started, but we only had one game. We had Green Level at Seaforth last night, and Green Level got the best of the Hawks 4-0 in that one. Green Level had 4 different scorers get a goal in that game. So for the rest of boys soccer, Jordan Matthews, one of the top program, of course, the top program here in the county with Coach Paul Quadros. They're going to start their season at Southern Alamance on Friday, and we'll get to see if they get to continue that excellence and great line of teams that they've had under Quadros this season. And Southern Alamance, they'll be at Northwood tonight. And other schools, I think we have Woods Charter and Chatham Charter. They're not going to get started until another 2 weeks with boys soccer. So, we just have sports trickling in as the school year starts, the season starts, and we'll keep you guys updated week by week with all the scores.
All right. I plan to be at the Northwood soccer game today, at least for half, and get some pictures at that. Let's just touch really quick back on the volleyball. Northwood did play well last night, but they're playing against a strong Seaford team. And Seaford, I think, in your post-game interview, their goal is to make it back to the state championship game. Now, again, they're in a different conference. They're in 5A division versus 2A. But based upon what we've seen, high school OT's got them ranked, I think, in the top 10 in the region. They've got a pretty good shot this year. And the thing is, your overall volleyball uh, teams here in the county are looking strong this year. Is that kind of your feel as well?
Yeah, we got talented teams all around the county. We talked with Jordan Matthews, AD Barry West, and he's excited about what Coach Johnny Austin has down in Jordan Matthews as well. Of course, Coach Bridget Watson always keeps a pretty good team at Chatham Central. They got a big win last night. So, it should be a very competitive volleyball season. Of course, like we said, every sport, every school is in a different conference. So we might not see as many county on county matchups, but it'll be interesting to see how they compete with the new schedules, new conferences. And a lot of our teams are off to a good start. Woods got to win. Central got to win. And of course, Seaford start the year with 2 wins. Northwood just ran into 2 pretty good teams because Union Pines, you guys remember Kara Rosenmarkle from Seaford last year. She's over at Union Pines, and they had to face her a couple nights ago. So I'm sure Northwood's going to come around and pick some wins up because they got the Glover twins, on the team as well. Nia Henry, some of the basketball girls, and some pretty good talent on their roster as well. So, volleyball should be pretty interesting.
Definitely. Again, as you said, they ran up against Seaford, but Northwood's got a good team again this year. All right. Paper comes out today. We've talked about a preview. What stories do you have that are in today's paper that folks you need to pick up? Why don't you give us a rundown of that before we get to your athlete of the week?
Yeah, so the paper is just the 4 football previews that we have from Saturday, and then of course we have a small story on Chad Graves from Northwood, who had a lot of decisions made for his future last week. So not only did he commit to Cal State Fullerton, to continue his college basketball career, but he also made a decision to transfer to a school in Detroit. I think it's Chandler Park Academy. That's what he told me. To play his senior season. So he won't be playing at Northwood this coming winter. But of course, Chatham County kid, it's been here for some great runs with Northwood. So we won't keep up with him, of course. And congrats to him for his commitment to Cal State Fullerton D1 program. I think they gave him his first D1 offer during the summer. So I know he's committed now, but we'll see. Maybe he'll pick up some more later on during the summer because he's very talented, big. I think 6'10". He's been growing his game, putting the ball on the floor, and has just been a pretty outstanding player here the past couple of years at Northwood. So, wishing the best of luck to him to future endeavor up there in Detroit and wherever he goes in college.
Yeah, I saw him last night. He was at the volleyball game, and I had a chance to talk to him briefly. He's going to be in town for another 2 weeks, and then he's heading out, and he's real excited about it. And we wish him the best of luck. Plus, you and I have seen him over the years where he's been always been tall, but he definitely gotten better at the game, and we're all happy for him. So we wish him the best of success. All right, do you want to get into your athlete of the week?
Yeah, athlete of the week. Last summer softball athlete of the week of the year because now we're in the school year. So Maddie Kasperchick, you guys know, the standout pitcher at Chatham Central. She had a really good performance in the Chatham County Post 292 in the season tournament last week. They played South Wake in the first game of that tournament, and she led the team with 4 RBIs and earned the win in the circle. She went 2 for 4 from the plate, struck out 7 batters in the circle, and she also walked 5 batters in that game as well. So um, did a lot of good things for Chatham Post 292 this season. Of course, for Chatham Central, where she was 2025 District 5 Pitcher of the Year for 1A, and she also earned one All State honors and was the 1A West Pitcher of the Year from the North Carolina Softball Coaches Association. So I know we got a long way to go until her season comes around next spring. So like we said, that's the final athlete of the week from the summer months, and now we're into the school year. Fall season is here, so we'll see a lot more athlete of the weeks from volleyball, boys soccer, girls tennis, and of course football in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's always one of the favorites here is the athlete of the week. So, Maddie, congratulations to that. The other thing too that we will probably have come back this year because we've talked with a bunch of folks about this and we've heard from the coaches is the power rankings. So stay tuned for that. We're not doing any preseason power rankings.
No, we are. Well, not now,
Oh,
but
oh,
next week. Next
next
week,
week.
when we do our week one preview for each week one game, I am going to do a preseason power ranking. Um, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll talk about it on Thursday.
All right, folks. Next Thursday, we're gonna have a preseason power ranking, and it's look, folks complain about it, but you folks love it. So we're coming back with it, and it's interesting because we learned last year, or Sheba and I learned that some of the coaches use that uh, as a motivational tool. So. Sheeble's out there with his power rankings. A lot of times I agree with him because we get to see a lot of stuff, and Sheeble gets a lot to see a lot more. And he's looking at it from a sports reporter perspective versus me looking at it as, hey, who can I get the best picture of? All right, Asheebo, well, you and I are probably going to be at one or both of the games on Friday. Is that right?
Well, yeah, Jack Shader tomorrow, so we'll be out there
Oh, that's right.
at Northwood. Chatham Central will also be there as well, so we get to see what they look like before the season. Of course, we'll have stories on that, just some notes about those two teams coming out in next week's paper before the season gets started. So, yeah, it's football season's here. We're full swing in the fall, and we're excited to see not even just this fall season, but what's to come in the winter and the spring. Because once again, a whole another year, we get to see these athletes compete for some more championships, accomplish more goals, and just be the best they can be throughout the season.
Right. And the nice thing about the jamborees is Ashibo and I get to be out in the middle of the field. I usually choose a spot behind one of the coaches. So if a kid comes running at me, he hits the coach before he hits me. But yes, Friday night. And again, follow Ashibo on Ashibo R38 on X because he will have the most current stuff. Just like yesterday in the volleyball game, he posted some stuff during the different matches during that game. All right, folks, that's it for this Thursday. We will see you next Thursday. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone have a good rest of the week. We're going to end this